Okay, so let me share my screen so that I can take you through the first few sections. Okay, hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thanks for joining us. This is like a refresher course for the people who have joined earlier, and for the new PMs, man, this could act like a new PM training, and they can understand the various processes, frameworks, procedures, and also what sort of compliance they should be aware of, right? So moving on to the screens, and then just a few rules of engagement. Your attendance is being recorded. If you have joined us with a phone number, please try to change or log in with your user ID, last name, first name, so we can identify you. You can share your questions on the chat, and at appropriate point of time, I'll try to answer them. If we can't get to your questions, then we will try to reply back to you over an email with details. Sometimes these questions could be requiring links and a lot of explanation. We will try to do it at the end of the session or as a follow-up email to you, okay? This is divided into multiple sessions. We are in introduction now. We'll quickly go through the introduction of the EPMO team, and I'll try to explain what are the roles and responsibilities, how they interact with each other. And then we move on to the stage gate process, status reporting, portfolio health, risk and issue management, cost estimation, and then there are some special topics which are definitely more important to the project managers. I'll touch upon them at the end, okay? You can stop me at any time. Let's make it interactive. If you have any question or try to understand a bit more about a particular topic, just raise your voice, or then we will pick it up from there, okay? So coming to the introduction, right, first of all, as most of you know, that we have started a different org unit journey called EPMO, Enterprise Project Management Office, last March. That means in 2021. We are almost like a year old now. We are still maturing. The journey is very exciting. We have started bringing in a lot of process changes, modifications, updates, try to become more user-friendly and more transparent and accountable to the top level management, right? So some of the issues that we faced with the projects were basically the cost estimation was not right. The project needed project change requests in order to increase the schedule, extend the dollar coverage. And sometimes the risks were not properly brought out to the senior leadership team so that they could address them or help them out with the projects. And also there were no proper guidelines in order to understand what is the project categorized as and what are the deliverables, what methodology we should use in order to execute a project that is most fit for the requirements. Because there is nothing like one size fits for all. So based on the scope of the project, we may find waterfall is a better approach. Sometimes we may feel, instead of waterfall delivering one big bang way, we can deliver them in smaller chunks, let the business feel the advantage of it and keep going, right? They can refine the requirement, they can refine the user stories, then accordingly we can make it a better project by the time we deliver the entire project to the line of business. So with that in mind, we moved on to what is called an EPMO model. An org unit was created, Enterprise Project Management Office. Rich Brenton is our senior director. And then there is a director role that is to be hired yet. We have 4 towers under the EPMO tower. So one is the manager operations. Upasana Pandya was leading it till last month. She moved on with her career, so we are now trying to fill that role. Then the second tower is the scheduling tower, third is the controlling, and the fourth is the project management tower. As you can see that these towers address specific areas of project management. They bring in specialists to those areas, and these resources are going to help you help you means the project team with the specialty skill sets that they bring in, right? So the next slide shows you the exact description of that role and how these three roles interact with each other. Briefly, I will touch upon them. Project manager, as you know, because most of you are project managers, or group product managers, hiring project managers working for you, you know that they are accountable for the entire project. They own the project. They take care of all deliverables of the project, now which includes the communication management, risk management, resource management, cost management, financials, then change management, organizational change management, you name it. All the project management related activities are the responsibility of the project manager. So earlier, we used to see that this project manager used to hold every possible project management area. Later on, we found that the projects are so complex and so involved that we need specialists to handle certain specialized areas. So scheduler is the role that is created, and a scheduler resource will be taking care of the schedules of the project, right? Preparing the schedules with their dependencies, predecessors, successors, risks, resource loading it, availability of resources, dependency on other projects, tying it down here. Let's say project is continuing and December come, we can't have nuclear projects rolling in, or now something else cannot be moved into production like finance projects. So all those dependencies will be built by the schedulers into their schedules. Controllers are basically for the financials of the project. Now starting from the budgeting side, actuals, accruals, invoices, preparations, and then the cost model in order to see what are the forecasts for this project for the next few months or few years based on the project and how the whole thing plays out. Any changes in schedule and cost, scheduler and controller are supposed to alert the project manager. Then three of them put together will come up with the justification document, which is nothing but the project change request. So the project manager is now relieved of these schedules and control responsibilities, and he can focus on the other project artifacts, starting from all the reviews, approvals, documentation, versioning, production acceptance, and the user acceptance testing. So he can focus pretty much on these activities. So the quality overall comes the best, right? We have the transparency, we have auditability, we have the documents prepared and stored properly and following the processes and be compliant with the process. So three of these people are like three pillars. They work together and they execute the project in the best way possible. If this produces, the controllers and schedulers are not coming at free of cost, because those are the resources that have to charge their hours to the projects. Depending on the size of the project, financial way, you have certain guidelines. These are purely guidelines based on your project size. Let's say if it is a $15 million project, we almost feel that you need a dedicated scheduler and a controller. The reason being the complexity or the importance of the project. Then you can see the smaller project at the bottom of this cone, the informal gated and miscellaneous efforts are very minimal involvement from scheduler and control, because these are routinely done activities, right? So you don't need a dedicated resource or even partially loaded resource. So you will be having very minimal activity or involvement from the schedulers and controllers. So when you are preparing or forecasting for your project, based on this conic structure, you can pick up the cost and forecast it out. It may vary based on the stage of the project and the way the involvement is happening, changes happening on the project. Things can change, go left or right, but this is at least gives you a thumb rule estimation for your costs, right? Moving on to this is the introduction part. I just gave you a hiccup of what is the EPMO organization looks like, what are the three towers, how they interact with each other, all these features we could know. Now, the other feature that EPMO team has brought out is the stage gate process. Some of you may know that we were following CMMI process for some time, then we shifted to product model, then agile methodology came in, then PISA team, and so we went through different types of handling the projects. This is the newer technique that was proposed by KPMG last year, piloted on 10 projects, and then expanded to all other projects. The stage gate process is a framework, and the details I'm going to go through in the next few minutes. So any questions till now about the EPMO, ARG unit, or anything that you want to understand better? Okay. So moving on to the SGP framework, right? I'm quickly running through these things so we can spend more time on the special topics at the end, okay? The SGP is a framework. So we used to have like CMMI was a framework where you have definite stages and definite phases, and how do you move between these phases or the stages, right? It clearly defines the expectations of a project lifecycle, the deliverables, and estimation accuracy. As you can see, there are two things that are coming out very significantly here. One is the deliverables on time, and then the estimation, the cost, right? So you have to execute the project to the best quality under this schedule and under the budgeted, the approved budget. So the framework is a slight improvement on the regular CMMI framework, right? CMMI gives you the best practices and best documentation, storing, auditability, etc., etc. But what SGP focuses is on, while the project is being executed itself, how can we build those things into the execution mode, right? Starting from the create concept level, as you can see on the screen, you have 7 stages and 7 gates. So if you split the word stage gate process, the first is the stages. You have 7 stages, starting from create concept, business case, project initiation, initial design, direct manage, and post-pay deployment. The names are self-sufficient. You can understand that create concept. I want to spend a couple of minutes on the first 2. A create concept is where the business comes up to a GPM or the project team. Hey guys, no, I want this enhancement to be done, or I want this application to be installed or implemented. Infrastructure team, hey, no, I want my DR to be implemented. So that becomes a concept. So picking up from that concept, the project team, which could be the GPM, the PM, or technical SMEs that were present at the disposal of the group product manager, may start analyzing them and involve the external teams to scope it out. Somebody is, let us say, I want to do this project. Then we have multiple teams around the SGP that needed to be contacted. Take, for example, cybersecurity team. Any solution that we are preparing, which is client-based or URL-based, need to be cybersecurity proof. So we need to interact with the cybersecurity team to understand their requirements and how do we absorb them into the project execution. Similarly, you have PIA, personally identifiable data. So if PII data is being used in your project or is touched upon, there are certain protocols and processes that we had to follow. So after getting all these people involved into your project, the scope, then you come up with the effort and cost estimation, right? So you may think my solution will be 1,000 hours, will cost like say $500,000. Then the cybersecurity team may say, hey, look at this. This is a high risk application, and you need to have a lot more controls on top of what you are thinking. So that may increase the effort by another 200 hours. Then the cost increases. So by the end of stage gate 1, you are discussing with these teams, you finished now all the reviews, understood their requirements, and are in a position to start calculating the cost, right, and the effort. Based on that, then you go to the next stage that is called the business case. So every project, either it is client funded or IT funded, need to prepare a business case. And this business case is nothing but consolidation of all the effort that you have done in the create concept stage. Now, all your reviews, their comments, their effort, their cost, the risks involved, the schedules, and then the high-level benefits that the scope can give to the business. This is a consolidated document that needed to be present to the challenge team. So the ITSLT members are present in the challenge team, and they will be asking the team multiple questions. Like, for example, if you are making this change on certain infrastructural components, how it is going to affect elsewhere. Now, what are the testings that you are going to do? Or what is the risk of not doing it this year and postponing it to next year? So all these questions need to be answered. And once all satisfactory answers are obtained, you will get the SLT approval. For client-funded projects, be aware that BCCT is a re-evaluation of the business case. So the SLT team members are re-evaluating the solution that is proposed, and they may suggest certain of these things which may increase the cost or which may even reduce the cost in some cases. So in that situation, a client-funded project's business case is for review here. As far as IT-funded projects are concerned, there need to be an approval. So business case is an approval, without which you cannot go to production or into project. At stage gate 2, you will be presenting the proof of your business case and what all the reviews and requirement gatherings you did with the other teams, and whether you have the demand in ServiceNow properly created and moved to an approved state. Once you cross that, the EPMO team would have created a project for you, a PRJ in ServiceNow, would have had the WBSS, work breakdown structures, elements created, mapped to the client accounting, and then you are good to go. The rest of the steps are more very self-sufficient. You start the project, you engage the procurement to get the vendors or resources, technical discussions, high-level business requirement discussions, all start happening. So the rest of the steps, like I said, the stages are nothing but the standard stages. But the most important thing that you should know as a project manager is the gate and the presentation you have to do at the gate. Every gate need to be presented with a scorecard. I will deal with these things in a little bit later, but a scorecard is like a pass. Okay, you have to show the pass to the EPMO team saying that you have conducted all these deliverables, you have stored the artifacts in a proper location, and once the validation is done, you are good to go to the next stage. So please understand the importance of each of these stages and the gates, okay? So if the gates are not properly performed or moved at right times, your project might be represented to the senior leadership team in not a fine way, okay? So it is better that you just comply with these stages and the gates. So moving on, because we are trying to give the advantage that methodology also is not one size fits for all. So we want the teams to decide whether it should be a waterfall or agile. Depending on the scope, you can discuss with your business unit partners saying that, okay, I feel that this project is like a portions we deliver to you, you test it out, use it, then we deliver the next portion. It will be easy for you and better for you, agile methodology. So you have to have that option open. We're not forcing you to go one way or the other. It is a project team choice, but once you have selected, then you better stick to that, because you can't go halfway through and suddenly say, hey, no, I like waterfall better than this. I want to shift to waterfall. That's not a right approach. So I would suggest that discuss all these things well ahead of the game, come up with the proper methodology, select it based on certain criteria that I'm going to share with you later. As far as the agile methodology is concerned, you can see the first 3 stages and 3 gates are the same as of waterfall. The next change comes in when the 4, 5, 6. In a waterfall approach, as you can see, it is a straight linear way we are moving on. But in an agile approach, you have an iterative approach. So you are iteratively doing the planning, sprint releases, and refining it and coming back to planning stage till you complete the product backlog, right? And once all the user stories are exhausted, delivered, then you move on to the post-deployment. As you can see, the most important thing that was told about SGP is the improving the cost estimation maturity, right? As you look at it here on the bottommost of the slide, the estimation is at around 50% or plus minus even 100% at create concept. Slowly, as you move through the stages and the gates, you are learning better about the project, the technical solution, the designing of the solution, and who are all need to be engaged. You are bettering the cost estimates. So slowly you are becoming like 50-50 to 20-30, then plus minus 10 to 15. And by the time you are in a direct manage, that is an execution phase, you're almost at plus minus 10%, which is the best quality you can expect out of any cost estimate. So the idea behind this maturity is to present our line of business with the proper cost estimates. So let's say an example, okay, you started the project with $1 million as your estimate. Then when you come to the initial design phase, you found that there are a lot of requirements that are coming from cybersecurity, SOX, PIA, DR, and all that. So the cost has gone up to $1.5 million. So take a breather, present those cost estimates at gate 4 to the business. Say that, okay, the project was estimated $1 million, but with the proper designing now, we are coming to $1.5 million. Are you interested to continue with it? Because business always calculates a project viability by ROI, right? Return on investment. They will look at the return on investment with the $1 million, they approved it, but now it is $1.5 million. They may come up and say, okay, it looks like we may still want this project. Okay, let's continue with it. Or they may say, it looks like this has gone beyond our ROI limits, so we may not continue with this project. Both ways are possible. So in that situation, you take a educated or a decision with full knowledge of what is the cost over there. So then you proceed to the design and direct and management. But at every level, again, you are revisiting the cost. You are recalibrating yourself in terms of the schedule and cost. Okay, I think that is one of the major developments of SGP over CMMI or any other framework that we were using earlier. Moving on with the deliverables templates, right? So we have been telling that there are a lot of deliverables under each of these stages, which you have to complete and present to the scorecard. But the point is we have designed most of these templates, okay? All these templates are available to you on the SharePoint site. The links are provided. When the deck is available to you, you can always click the link and go and check it out, okay? But as I said, the templates are available, but always use the latest template. Do not consume any template, the 3 months old, 6 months old, okay? Go to the SharePoint site or to the source, download the latest template and use it, because as I said, this is a journey and we are continuously improving our own templates. That means there could be some changes in all these templates or in one of the templates, but you may miss that if you are using an earlier template than what it is there on the SharePoint site, okay? Now you have to understand that, okay, theory is good, I can understand SGP and all that, but coming to the practical part of it, how is my project is going to be categorized and what I need to decide is applicable to my project or not, right? That's more important for us. So there are two types of considerations you have to look at it. First of all, from a development perspective, what is this project is going to use as methodology? Like I said, we don't want to fix you to one methodology. If there is a general guidance available, you talk to your project sponsor and then decide which way you want to go. You want any help, you can always reach us. We will help you out on that. And we will facilitate the discussions, help you to understand things better, both as a waterfall or an agile, and then you can make the decision there. The categorization matrix is basically to identify what are all the artifacts or the deliverables that will be applicable to the project. Again, one size does not fit everybody. So we are trying to give you different categories of the project, and then you select based on certain parameters, put your project into one of those categories and select the deliverables as needed. Okay. So there are two things here. First one, to select the methodology. The second one, to identify the deliverables. That means you are basically tailoring your project based on the category. What are the criteria that we should use, right? Very briefly, I'm not going to go through every line of it, but just like, for example, SDLC consideration to understand what methodology you have to identify. Suppose the technology that you are going to venture into is not a known technology to you, right? It is a new application or new technology that is going to be adopted, because that is a requirement there. Then better is to go agile way. Because you don't know, it is better to understand things, deliver things in bits and chunks, rather than trying to deliver the whole thing as one big bang and then find that that is not what you want to do. You are supposed to deliver. The same thing you can see, heavy regulatory and legal compliance elements. So if it is a regulatory product, they would like to see the whole product one shot. They don't care whether it is now 10 times you deliver 10 small chunks. That's not going to help. So you can think a waterfall approach may be better fit, or the best is iterative approach. So iterative approach is nothing but a combination of waterfall and agile. That means you will bring the project to some extent with a larger chunks of deliverables and then iterate it. Okay, so you would start delivering major chunks, if not the whole thing at one shot. So it is split again into larger chunks, but you are not as agile as possible. That means it's smaller chunks. So it is a hybrid between that. That is waterfall, agile. It is a hybrid approach. Okay. This is how you decide on the methodology you are going to follow. Moving on to the categorization, there are certain parameters you have to address and check it out against your scope. So some of the things, as you can see, this is maybe too difficult to read, but anyway, I'll read it out for you. The parameters are size, the risk, then visibility of the project, and financial management. So size is nothing but how much is the cost estimate. Is it $1 million, $250,000, or a few $100,000? So the categorization goes on the top here. If it is $1 million and above, automatically this goes into a formal gated project. Okay. And an informal gated project is the one which is less than $1 million and also follows certain other parameters. Like I'm going to give you an example here. Take an infrastructure project. Okay, the project can be $5 million. Right away, you think it is a formal gated project. That is one aspect of it. Now go to the risk. If it is a regular activity that you are doing for years and years, over and over, like buying new servers and installing them, this is an activity that our infrastructure team has been doing for years. So the risk is less. They know what they do, right? And how quickly they can do it, or how much time it takes. They know most of the stuff. Coming to the visibility, is it a high visible product or a low visible product? Is it cyber safe? Is it a cyber project, or is it a regulatory project, etc., that you have to verify? Financial reporting, is it a very comprehensive reporting is required? Like, for example, some of the LIPA projects have to report their financials on a regular basis to Long Island Power Authority. So certain of these things, even for New Jersey, we have to report our BPU or for the regulatory agencies. You have to come up with the combination of all these parameters and then decide whether the project is a formal or informal project. Okay, it's not one parameter that decides the categorization. The reason why we want to take it up is, even if a $100,000 project, the pretty small project we think, but if it is a cyber risk related activity, gone. You are right away into formal gated. A $5 million or a $15 million project, a regular activity that we keep doing, just because we are buying certain stuff, the cost of the project may go up, but the risk and the importance or the visibility or the financial reporting on the project could be low. That way the project can be categorized as informal project. But most of the time, if I look at the projects, the first condition, the financials of the project will decide more or less which way it is going, okay? Just as a tip. As you see from left to right, as you move through the categorization, there are a lot of things that get eased off. Informal gated projects, smaller and smaller, and then miscellaneous and annual routine and effort. This project categorization is going to flow into this. You see the deliverables are mentioned on the first column, and then the applicability is on the rest of the columns. And the first column, as if you are formally gated in more than $1 million, then every possible thing is applicable, right? All these solids. But as you move from left to right, you see a lot of the solids opening up. That means you may not require these documents or these steps as mandated in the previous gated projects. So if there is an annual and routine effort, you can see most of the stuff is gone. You are only having very few fully filled dots. That means the SGP gives you a flexibility to ease off on the deliverables. But that should not be taken for any misuse, because when we go to the gated through the gate, we are going to check and see how you have decided to come to this, to the rightmost level, or instead of being on the left, right? And also this should be on the radar of your directors and the sponsors, because they have a lot more visibility about the depth or the important or impact of this project. Now things can change around. So better be aligning with your GPMs and PM or the directors for all the strategic initiatives that you are taking up. So this continues, and then now we come, let me take a breather here and ask any questions. Okay, so now moving on. Okay, we know what is a stage gate and the process, stages, gates, but how do I present my scorecard to the EPMO team for validation purposes so that I can move to my next stage? So the pass that you have to produce at the gate is the SGP scorecard. So the scorecard is nothing but an Excel file available on the SharePoint site. You can download it at the beginning of the project itself. As soon as the project is handed over to you, better you start looking into the SGP scorecard, because that is upcoming, right? Do you have the card properly filled in to present to the gate? If not, then you will be stuck in the stage unnecessarily. So this Excel file can be downloaded, can be seen, and then you start filling it up. It is a very easy document. Not much of complication there. Let me show you. This is how it looks like. Okay, this is a simple Excel file with the stages on the top and the number of activities that are to be completed. By stage, you have one tab each. Okay, let's say you are in the project initiation stage, you have certain deliverables to fulfill. So when you look at the section here, you are expected to complete a particular activity. And then what is the status? Completed. Then provide the link or the comment. Suppose you do not have this activity tailored to your project because you are doing the tailoring categorization, you may feel that this activity is not relevant to your project, then provide the needed explanation here. Okay. That way, when the scorecard comes to EPMO team, we are in a position to, first of all, identify where your documents are. And number two, why certain deliverables are not required for your project. What do you think that is not applicable? So we need to have this clarity so that we can quickly review your scorecard and give the approval to move to the stage. So use this card as extensively or exhaustively as possible. Provide as much information as you want to provide, because that will reduce our interaction with the project team back and forth, right? So the way you interact with the SGP is that you prepare the scorecard after downloading it from the SharePoint site, send it along with the scorecard to the SharePoint site. You can upload a copy there, attach an email as an attachment and send it to EPMO team. So we are aware that there is a SGP scorecard presented by a particular project team. Okay, so you can use the naming convention as the project number and this scorecard and put the last explanation of the naming as from what stage to what stage. So like I said, try to be very innovative. You can use all your imagination to make it as explicit to project EPMO team as possible. So we are in a position to understand things quickly. Once that sort of an email comes to us, we will be able to go to your project artifacts folder, check through the artifacts. If everything looking good, then we give an email stating that you're good to go. Then change the stage to the next stage and move on. Right now, all this is manual, unfortunately, but we are trying to systematize it. Now, most probably, we will customize and configure the service now to handle all this activity on the system. Okay, but the request here is be truthful when you are presenting the scorecard or moving the project from one stage to the other. Okay, till the system-driven workflow comes in. But till then, please give the manual inputs as detailed as possible and as truthfully as possible, because audit is going to be one of the teams that are going to review the projects midway, not even at the end. So there is a classic difference that is coming out. I'm going to talk about these things in the special topics, but audit team is also liking to get into the life cycle of a project somewhere in between. So that means all these scorecards that you are preparing, all the artifacts that you are preparing, reviewing, and getting approvals will be audited. Okay. So we don't want to have any negative observations from audit team. So better be careful and execute the project. These are all very normal way. As long as you follow them, things are good. Now, if you don't follow them because either you don't know or you didn't pay attention, that's where the problem comes. So this is a scorecard that will be finally be presented at each of the gates and gets reviewed and gets approved by the EPMO team to move on. Okay. So this is a high level overview of your SGP process, right? So the various stages, various gates, and what to do at the gates, and how to categorize, how to discuss and decide the methodology, etc. Got it? I think, yeah, the deck will be shared via a link on the SharePoint site. As you all saw, that this is also being recorded. So the recording is also available for your future reference. Anytime you want to listen through the presentation, then you can always listen through that. So with this, I'm completing the first two sessions. Now I will be handing over to Aarti to take on with the status report and to continue with the PHR. I will be available for any questions or any points that you want to learn more. I'll come back and I'll be there to help you out on that. Okay. Okay, Aarti, on to you. Aarti, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was double muted. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Naren. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Aarti. Before I start project status reporting module, I want to highlight few things about the project status reporting and project health review are the important artifacts from the project manager perspective. This is why, because each month PMs are entering the information into the status report. That report is extracted and analyzed by IT PMO and shared with GSHAN and SLT members in monthly PHR meetings. That generally happens third Thursday of every month. This is the way PM to show how they will deliver the project at that level. There is no surprises. You are maintaining the transparency and accountability with different indicators. So before I deep dive down, I would say it is a very simple process. Only one thing I want to emphasize: when you enter the information into a status report, try to be crisp, transparent, and as much as possible. If you think there is any risk issue existing in the system, it is better to keep the status indicator yellow or red rather than keeping it green, because there is no penalty to keep it indicator red and yellow. We totally understand that there are certain scenarios, those are beyond your control. So let me move on to the next slide. So there are some guidelines on this slide those PM has to follow to submit the status report each month. PM should lead status update meetings with their project teams on a weekly basis to obtain the necessary information to accurately report on project status. All PM should work with their scheduler to make any necessary updates to the resource and cost loaded schedule. ITPEPMO send the reminder email to submit the status report on first or third Friday of each month. So this is the slide just showing the thing, just a flow chart about how to create, edit or update your status report in the ServiceNow portal. It's just a simply thing. So I can take you and walk through to the real ServiceNow portal as in the environment, production environment, and walk through the how we can update the status report in the ServiceNow system. So let me go through that. So once you are logged into the ServiceNow portal, as you sign in into your system, so you see that you can just type this project portfolio management in the navigator tool. When you scroll down, you will see your project status report related to your project. Since I am logged in into this account as a production environment, I don't see my project because I'm not a project manager. So you can go in your status report. I can give you some dummy data to show you how you can submit your status report on the ServiceNow portal. So once you click on this status report, you see that you will land on this page, the status report. You see the insert button that will make you new report for your project, respected to your project. So all the gray, that area, you will see it's auto populated according to your project. So you cannot change any information for this gray out area. So this report status is pending until when you approved by GPM, you cannot change that. Once you get the approval from the GPM, then you can put it as approved by GPM and you can just update your status report. So please make sure about the status date. It should match when you submit the status report, the date should match when you are submitting the status report. We also look for that last week achievements, some key points on the PHR, and please try to update all these fields like project IT team, project details, all the dates are matching and everything's are up to date with your project. If you have any change, if you submitted any JD regarding the dates or costs or anything. So every financial should be updated when you submit the status report in your system. So when you come to this indicator, the status report, that we encourage you to look for that all that indicator that matches to your project. If you think if you are seeing the issue that is going to impact your cost, schedule, resource and scope, 50% probability, then keep the indicator yellow. We always encourage you to keep the yellow because there is no point keeping it green. And then if you see like one of the indicator is yellow, then you have to keep the overall status is yellow as well. Even the cost with the same, if you see the risk or issue that is going to impact cost schedule on the other 75% probability, then keep the indicator as a red. So that's the important key factor. We are asking, like, don't afraid if your project is yellow or red. So like anyone is going to panel to you. Just keep it as that what you are thinking about. If there is any risk issue is going around that, so please keep it as fair, as crisp and transparent as much as possible. We also look for some executive summaries of key point in our PHR deck, that we also look for that. If you can give that some highlight point of like what was the reason of the overall status, why this is green, why this is red, that will be help us out to analyze your project on that basis, so that we can represent that data in front of SLT and GSHAN. Even we look for the last week achievement. So just key points. You don't need to give the very detail about the key point about last week achievement. Just give us some few points. So bullet points we are looking for. And same thing about the issue and risk. Like I know, like in the few more slides for later, Naren will explain about the issues and risks that we also shown on that PHR deck when we represent monthly PHR meeting. So once you update all the information on this page, you can and get the approval from the GPM, you can just update and then just submit the status report. So generally the status report, when you submit it, we extract first Friday one on for the final PHR meeting. So let me go back to that slide, because I think it's clear to how to submit on the status report on the ServiceNow portal. So let me go back to the deck.
Arti, just one question over here.
Yeah.
So regarding the approval, right? You know, that you need to receive by the GPM, is it done directly by them in ServiceNow, or is it like an email approval that we have to send them, and once they approve it, we have to come over here as project managers and change the status to approved by GPM?
So
yeah, so there is no workflow in service. Yeah, I'll take it. So there is no workflow in ServiceNow that you can, do it and share with GPM. You have to tell him, and you can probably set up a meeting and review. And once it's done, you can come here and change the status to approved.
Okay, all right. And is there any particular attachment that you have to put in if you are getting like an email approval? Is that something which is required as
No,
well?
for GPM approval in project status report, it's not needed because we do it. This is a bi-weekly report, so approval is not needed. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me go back to the deck. Yeah, so these are all the steps I showed you on that ServiceNow portal, how to submit. So this is the slides. Yeah, we upload this deck on the SharePoint. If you want to get any reference from there, so you can just go there and check it out, how to submit, and all these indicators about that, what we should keep the indicator, our overall status or schedule cost resources. So these are all things. Let me move on to the further next slide. So yeah, so here comes that. This is just a chart flow. I can show you the next. So this is just a chart flow that IT PMO follows to conduct the monthly PHR meeting. It's like nothing. We take care of all these things, like sending the email reminder first or third Friday of every month. We conduct the pre-PHR meeting to get with the PM to get the insight of their project, how they are doing it, if there any risk issue is there, or maybe to get some kind of notes. So that way we can represent the right data or right information in front of GSHAN and SLT members. So this is just a chart flow that IT PMO conduct to take care of all these things. So let me move on to the next slide. Yeah, these are the steps we have to follow to create the final deck for the PHR. So
we are still seeing the ServiceNow screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're sharing something else. No.
Oh, then I missed something, I think. Yeah. So this is the chart flow that we have to follow, IT PMO follow to create that final PHR deck. So every month we take the report first or third Friday of the month. Like we send a reminder to PM to GPM to submit the report every first or third Friday of every month. We extract the data, analyze it, and we conduct that pre-PHR meeting with PM to get the insight of their project, like how it's doing, is there any risk and issue is there, how we can resolve, is there any mitigation plan. We get the notes and that we represent on the final deck. with Jishan and SLT member. So this is all about the IT EPMO, the workflow that we do it at our end. So let me move on to next slide. So these are the all steps we follow to create the final deck, like how analyze and get the data from the PM and everything. So we just go through that. The same thing with the indicators and everything. We check the indicators and like if something is not right, we feel like, so we coordinate with PMs to get the right indicators and all these data. Yeah. So this is just the overview of the slide, how we represent all that project status data on the final PHR regarding all your projects, like what are so the KPMG, what they have implemented. So we are taking care of all these things. So these are just the representation of the projects that we represent in the final PHR. And these are the key points, all the key points for the green, red, yellow projects we show on that final deck. And this is the same format. We use it for the pre-PHR meeting as well. So we conduct the meeting, get the insight. If there is something changed, we do it. Back and forth, we get the notes. So, and sometimes we ask that some questions about that, if there is any help needed for the from the SLT for the red and yellow project. So those are the important things. We keep it in that deck. So this is, I think, all about our PHR project health review. So is there any questions that I can answer? Okay, then I'll take it as a no. So I can give it to the next topic to Naren. Naren, do you want to go ahead? Or maybe Suresh?
This topic for a few more minutes. So as you know that your project may be great and it is doing all the activities, everything is looking nice, but if it is not presented to the senior leadership team and to your stakeholders properly, it's like all the effort is within the the project team, but not really visible to the senior leadership team. So the project status report is one of the tools that you can really keep up to, so that when we present the projects into the project health review meetings or the other reports that we generate, that the forecast versus actuals, the committed delivery date reports, then your project really comes up. You remember, this flows into the point that I was mentioning, transparency, right? We want to be as transparent as possible to our senior management and also to our stakeholders. So status report is not only just like a chore that you are doing, right? And every week I had to do, or every alternate week I had to do. No, this is your opportunity to present your project to the senior leadership team. So spend some time. It won't take more than 10 minutes if I were to do the status report about my project, right? Because I know everything about my project. So putting it into words, type it out, and then give the proper colors to the statuses and present it out. If your project is in red, do not fear. There is nothing wrong in a project being in red. What is wrong is trying to cover it up, which is absolutely a bad thing to do. Number two, not seeking help to come back to green status. So if you are not presenting your project properly into the red status, or not seeking help from others like your GPMs or your directors to come back to the green status, now these are the two negative things that can come out of your effort, your activity. So please be sure that representing your project truthfully, even if it is red, is a good thing, because projects tend to go to red, come back to green, then continue in green. The green projects can turn into red because of certain other circumstances. It's very natural. Okay, so please don't be afraid of putting your project in red, but try to understand your project thoroughly before you enter the data and presenting it to the senior leadership team. contact your GPMs, contact your peers to understand the idea behind the status report. And as we we were talking that the entire thing flows into your project health, which is presented to the senior leadership team. So here I want to take a couple of minutes to explain certain fields that you have to be focusing on. Your dates on your project. I have around 50 projects out of 112 projects that have missed their dates, the committed delivery date. That's really, really bad. I just don't understand why you should miss your committed delivery date and still be active. There could be various reasons. I am not contradicting anything here, but if your project is about to hit a committed delivery date, 3 weeks before, take a stock of the situation. Am I meeting the date? If not, let me start my justification document. Let me talk to my GPM, start my justification document. If you can't do that much, it's like what I can't fathom here is how can you handle your project? 50 projects out of your 112 projects, 50% of the projects are beyond their committed delivery dates. Still, they are calling themselves as active. If there is a valid reason that you can't even put up a justification document, that's impossible to understand. Okay, so please focus on the committed delivery date, number one. Number two, about your financials. If your financials are not proper or not correct in ServiceNow, immediately raise an incident ticket on ServiceNow team. This is a known issue with ServiceNow. Now, I know projects which were only $70,000, their financials when the project was created jumped to $2 million. Absolute crazy. But unfortunately, there is a bug or there is an issue with the system. They have a script that they can run and fix the financials. So create an incident ticket on ServiceNow group, and then you can get your corrections on the financials. It's a matter of you looking at your data or your project. It is as though it is your baby, right? As the baby requirements and needs are addressed as a parent, your project is the same thing. It is looking for you for certain of the corrections to be done, take care of them. Especially these things are, and I wanted to reiterate because I have been talking about this multiple times in multiple forums, but still I don't see proper action on the behalf of PMs. The caution here is we are going to take it up to senior leadership. We have been talking to you at our level, but now it is not happening. So we might be taking it to the senior leadership team to a level of Jishan now. If something comes up from that level, then it is not a good sign for any one of us. So better go back to your projects, look at the dates, need to be corrected, immediately start the justification document. Get whatever help you need from anyone you can seek. You have the project management tower, Leah Singer, she can help you. Your GPM can help you. You want additional help, we are always there for you. Okay. So that's what I wanted to bring the importance of that section, the status report and the project health review. Okay. Thanks, Aarti, for that presentation. So what's the next section? Aarti, you're on mute.
Yeah, it's the risk and issue, Naren.
Okay.
Yeah.
While Suresh is presenting this, I will be helping him with certain of the details. But as you know, the other thing that came out as one of the main observations from audit, from our customers, is that the risk and issues are not properly presented to them. Okay. The projects may run into issues, may run into risk, very natural. Okay. It has to happen. If it is not happening, there is something wrong with the project then, because that well thought about projects are very rare. So as a project manager, you have to think through the risks that are hitting your project internally, externally, issues that could become major problems to you internally, externally, document them, capture them, calculate the probability of these risks so that you can come out with a clear, transparent way you are representing your project to the SLT. Okay. So just go through this risk issue section. If any questions, now we can always come back. At the end of the session, I'll give you a couple of points for you to note. Okay, Suresh.
Hey, thanks, Naren. Thanks, Aarti. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. So, risk issue decision management. It can be theoretical topic. It can be practical topic, depending on how we look at it. But from experience perspective, what I can share is that how well or your risks are articulated in the beginning of the project kind of reflects how well you understand the project that you are going to be executing. It is directly correlated, because if you're going to learn as you go into the execution phase, you're going to discover new and new items that you had never thought about, and those are going to become risk issues, and it's going to reflect poorly. So as a suggestion, project management eventually becomes all about risk management. Will not get into the theory part of it. Like, risk is something that may happen. Issue is, it is happening. Decision is, we need to do something about it, and change is that, yeah, it's happened. We have made decision. Now we please approve, or, we need to record it. So that is the context. Now, risk management, having said that, we live in a dynamic world when we are executing projects, and our understanding evolves. There are interdependencies with other projects or other systems, and not everything is in our control. Given that, risk management is not a static activity. It's a activity which is performed through the life cycle of the project, starting from when you in the create concept stage itself, you can identify some risks that can be thought through, and as you move along in the life cycle, based on the learnings or developments, you can keep updating, refining, and closing the risk through the life cycle of the project. So it's going to be a continual activity. There will be two types of risk, obviously, qualitative risk and quantitative risk. We can talk about it briefly. Will not, this is a classical way. We need to identify what kind of risks are there, what is going to be the impact, what are our options in what kind of response we can give, and once you have identified a risk, obviously you need to look out for that risk during the execution of the project, and eventually at the end of the project, that risk has to be closed. Every risk has to be closed. So that's a typical risk management life cycle. These are some of the data fields that we'll be capturing when we are identifying risk. So in your risk register, basically risk will be documented in the risk register, and we will have different parameters by which we will define them and track them. this, I mean, at the end of the day, how important a risk is based on two dimensions. One is the probability of the risk happening and the impact of that event actually happening. And when you multiply the two, you get the risk value. And this is a concept. It is not just in our IT project management. In practically every industry or other functions, it's the same philosophy that's used, that risk equal to probability into multiplied by the impact of that particular risk materializing. And we have, from SGP perspective or a playbook perspective, we have categorized, or we have given some guidance in terms of how to categorize the risk on a scale of 1 to 5 based on the probabilities, and also impact based on the percentage of budget and schedule, which are the two other variables that determine the cost. So we have given some guidance that can be used to arrive at the value of a particular risk item. And this can be this is just for guidance purposes. And when you do the assessment of risk based on probability and impact as measured from based on schedule and cost impact, you will eventually get a score, and that score is what we are the index is what we are reflecting over here. And usually the projects which are having a score of these, they will be monitored more aggressively, while projects with lower score will probably not require that kind of oversight that is expected. But anything above 9, usually I've seen that they are rigorously monitored. So that has been our experience. And going to the mechanics of how do you manage? I mean, there is a conceptual part of the risk, that is the art part of the risk, and this is the mechanics part of the risk, which is you need to keep that maintain the risk register in ServiceNow. When you go to your project page, there are the tabs below. There is a risk tab, and there you can create new risk as and how when you identify ones, and there are predefined data fields to enter the value. In addition, if you need more data fields to capture additional information about the risk, you can click the gear box and add more data fields so that your risk register is more comprehensive and better from a tracking perspective. So this is the mechanics of managing the risk through the project life cycle. I mean, this is again, it's a self kind of instructive or intuitive that you can, how to enter a risk record. I think once you are in the risk service now and entering risk, this will be pretty obvious, and you just to create the risk related record. Next, these are the data fields that you will be entering in the risk record, and they are again very intuitive, whether the risk is open, closed, when date on which you were created, and so on and so forth. So short description of risk, we can skip over this. And here we will have you will be entering the risk score for the item based on what we had just discussed about probability and impact, and arrive at risk score for particular item. Now, the most important part about risk management is going to be, at the end of the day, we all know and we are all aware that when we start a project, we come with some kind of estimation, budget estimation, and schedule estimation. And we have some assumptions about how things are going to pan out. However, we also try to add some contingency funds based on, knowing fully well that not all projects are going to be, following the exact trajectory as it was thought through in the beginning of the project. The question becomes that how much contingency fund or how much buffer should you be adding? You can't be adding too much. Obviously, you're going to be blocking funds from other engagements, and quite likely that the ROI of project may not look attractive, and it may we may miss out on actually implementing the project. Why? If on the other hand, if you lowball it, then you will have to go to senior management for additional funding, or keep explaining your project is perpetually going to be on red, and you will need to explain about schedule slippages and financial imbalances. So the best path is that you do scientifically, you come up with the what is your risk and contingency requirement, and that is determined by your risk score and and overall your project budget and the risk profile of the project. With these two parameters, you can arrive at some contingency amounts which can be justified. Now, having said that, yeah, despite doing this, there may be situations where you may do better than what you had expected, or you may do worse than what it was expected. But there is going to be some basis for the conversation, and that is the very important, purpose, which quantitative risk management will help all the project managers in their conversations or in their interactions with the senior leadership. It gives some, basis. So keeping in mind that for every risk item, we work out what is going to be the cost of impact, what is going to be minimum cost, minimum overrun, likely overrun, maximum overrun, and then there are we do use a PERT based estimator to work out what what is going to be the likelihood, what is the right amount that should be assigned to risk and contingency, towards risk and contingency, and that becomes your basis for funding. So this is the importance of the risk management activity, apart from helping yourselves to keep project on schedule, within budget, and also not having any surprises through the life cycle. So this is and the other second important point, that it is a generally expected protocol that any schedule or cost deviation which is going to be exceeding 10% of what was approved, that will require review or approval from top management. So that is the maximum latitude that is given. Anything exceeding 10% for schedule dimension or cost dimension, the project will go through a serious review, and you will need to prepare a justification document. So that is another point that you should keep in mind. How a risk is managed, they are again, these are self-explanatory contents or slides. You can avoid risk, transfer, minimize, accept. These are standard project management techniques for dealing or mitigating the risk. And this presentation is going to be available for everyone's consumption. In addition, the EPMO SharePoint site has a very good playbook for risk management. I strongly encourage that if you go through it, it's going to add value to your project and to yourself as a professional. So please go through that playbook. There's another document that is available in EPMO SharePoint site, which is a cheat sheet for or a guidance as to how to identify risk. You can make use of that document to as a framework to identify risk in the beginning of the project. So we have some material that is that can add value to you. It's just that this is a pretty big topic, and we can have a session dedicated to risk on and by itself. So it's very difficult to cover everything over here, but we just covered at a very high level that the importance of risk management. Risk management is going to be an ongoing activity. The maximum threshold is 10% from a schedule and cost perspective, and we are not looking at we are looking at measurable risk. We are not considering just conceptual risk, but at the end of the day, we need to quantify the risk in the context of cost and the probability, and then work out our contingencies and mitigation plans accordingly. So that is the approach that we take in this from PSEG perspective. Risk register is stored or maintained in ServiceNow, and there is a flexibility to add quite a few additional data fields to make it more comprehensive than should you desire. So I'll take a pause, and if I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any. All right. So if there are none, then I'll pass on my colleague Anthony, who will take over the cost estimator training. Thank you.
Okay, so before we jump on to the cost estimation, right? So let me bring out the importance of risk management, right? So most of the time, we either do not pay attention to the risks that are coming and hitting the project, or trying to understand the issues, and suddenly we find that we are into red, right? So that's where senior leadership team goes a bit weird, because then what is happening with this project? Why suddenly from green to red without any risk or an issue identified earlier, right? It can't be an overnight change that the project turns from green to red. So that means as a project manager, you are supposed to do a continuous evaluation of your project and look around and see what are all the risks and the issues that might impact your project, and maintain a proper register and discuss with your colleagues and the project team members. If possible, escalate them to your group product manager in order to get clarity on the mitigation plan, right? So the most important things are identification of a risk or an issue way ahead of the time, right? Don't try to wait on, and then suddenly you turn the project into red. That's not fair. That's not correct. Number two, once the risk is identified, you have to properly communicate it across. So the one of the ways of communication is take the opportunity of project status report, maintain the risk register, and review it with your group product manager and the project team in order to come out with a mitigation plan. And once you have identified a mitigation plan, try to adopt it, try to address the risk and issue so they go away. Okay. Take, for example, resource availability is an issue that could impact your project. At your level as a project manager, you can make a request for the other team member to provide the resource. Like it could be business, it could be infrastructure, it could be security, it could be procurement. But when it is not happening, you should also have a proper escalation approach. Okay. So all these things are nothing but proper project management methodologies and techniques that we use in our day-to-day life. But unfortunately, certain times you get so much absorbed into the other activities that you lose track or sight of these things. So risk and issue management and decision management is a very important topic in order to bring that transparency to the senior leadership team. Okay, you have the tools, you have the place to present them. Only thing is you have to use them. Okay. So with that, we will go shift to another major topic, another topic is the cost estimation. Like I said, you have to be cognizant of not only the effort that is going to take on this project in terms of a schedule, but also how you are achieving that effort with the cost, right? And how well as a project manager, you are managing your project financials. That includes your budget, your actuals, the invoices being paid on time, accruals being accrued on every month, especially the year-end accruals, and how well your financials are managed through the forecast, right? So all these will be managed provided your cost estimates are sound. They are done very realistically, okay? So this is the tool or the section that is going to help you with that cost estimation side. Anthony is going to take you through again. I'll come back at the end with some special inputs to you guys. Anthony, all yours.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all, and I appreciate all your hard work on the projects that you do. And as Narendra said, certainly a critical part of the process is to have the right tools. We talk about the stage gate scorecards. We talked about some of the the reviews and the updates, but to have the tool to estimate the cost, particularly on very large projects, is critical, as senior management needs to feel comfortable that there is an aligned, approved process that has been built and time tested to create costs, especially here when you have large projects and when you're at the onset of a project. So, as the screen talks about, the objective of the cost estimator, the tool itself is to provide a really sound, a rough order of magnitude, an estimate so that senior management and the stakeholders and the decision makers have a good idea of the project and they feel comfortable with the scope of the project. As we talked about, and Narendra talked about, the importance of this cost estimators particularly is for large formal gated projects, and then we certainly have a smaller cost estimator tool, a little bit more of a lightweight. But again, the focus is when the project sponsors assembles his team and says, we've identified a project and aligns the team, the subject matter experts, the sponsors, the project managers, the controllers, the schedulers, to get the initial stage of the process and put it together in terms of what the cost and the scope of the project is going to be. And so this template has been developed in Excel that allows the inputs to go in a formal regulated process that we go through to build a cost that can be discussed and presented to the senior management team. And certainly and that's housed out, this document is housed out on the SharePoint site as well as out on the source as well, saying that, this is where it's located on SharePoint under IT, PMO, documents, the library. We see the cost estimator for the formal gated, and that's where we would go. And as Narendra had always talked about, always go to SharePoint or to the source to get the actual latest and greatest template. If and when any changes are made, they're always housed out here on SharePoint. So not to get too much into all the details, because it is a very detailed process, but it's well documented. You go to the file, this is what you get. You get an Excel file that talks about, again, the purpose of what we're trying to do here with cost estimation. There's a tool up in the upper right-hand corner, frequently asked questions in here that you can go through some of the questions that you might have, but then also just to go back and look at, what is it that you need to do here? As we talked about, once the project is identified, you see here where it talks about instructions. You identify what the opportunity or the issue is that the company needs to address here. You get the advice, you assemble your team, you work with the cost estimator tool, this template with the specific instructions and sheets within the file to create a valid cost for the project. And then once that's prepared, working with our team, the EPMO team, to review it, get it ready for the steering committee for senior management to review, and again, to work through any issues and the dialogue of what either needs to be supplemented or needs to be enhanced. So to work with making sure that senior management has a tool here and has a summary of the project cost. And then just again, I'm not going to go through all of the template here, but there's some general guidelines, how to fill it out. There's some color coding on which fields are either brown or blue or yellow, indicating whether it's a field that's required or it's a calculated field that you don't touch, or other fields that might be of more of an information to add some background or some supplements to the file. And so then it really comes down to the file then comes into about 8 steps, where the initial steps are really talking about inputting the information into this template. The steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, pretty much putting in the information, and there's a tab in the file, and they're conveniently numbered 1 through 8 in the file of the key assumptions. What are some of the high-level top-down work items with inventory, the people, the resource costs, and how the data, as you go through these sheets, they feed into the later sheets, which ultimately become summary and review sheets into the file. So as you go through it, again, it comes into just entering the information into the respective fields, talking about what resources, obviously people cost, and the file has details on how to calculate both the rate as well as the hours on the people and the resources, as well as any other non-labor costs that need to be addressed into the project. And so again, the project kind of just goes through, and the sheet will supplement these 8 sheets of filling out and developing how to summarize the data and coming into a final sheet where on sheet 8, everything is summarized. So that's essentially what the file is all about. As I said, it gives you background, it gives you frequently asked questions, it takes you through the steps as you start, as we saw with the guidelines, the summary, and then the instructions going through the 8 sheets in the file. But also, as Narendra talked about, the EPMO team is here as a resource to work with you when you have one of these projects, and to ensure that as you feel the need to make sure that the information is all entered in both correctly and completely, then it goes to a review process. So, Narendra, that's all I'm going to take on this file at this time.
So, a couple of points that I want to bring out here, right? So, as you know, everything flows one to the other. Like the project categorization helps you in identifying what are all the deliverables that need to be tailored to the project, and also what tools and templates that you should use. As you know, I don't know how many of people have observed that the presentation that Anthony was mentioning is a formal gated project cost estimator, right? So if you have observed that, that means the estimator that he was showing is for formal gated projects. We don't want, like again, we never, the intentions being that one size fits all. No, we wanted to give the flexibility based on your project to use what is the possible template that is more appropriate. So again, here also the same thing. We have 2 types of templates. One is the formal gated cost template, and the other is for informal gated projects. Okay, both the templates are available on the project templates page of the source. Okay, if you go to source and then type out project templates, you will get the list of templates that you will be using for your project. That includes your SOWs, your cost estimators, the production acceptance forms, etc., etc. Okay, so based on the categorization, you can pick up your project. See, that is what you are seeing on the screen right now. The first one is a cost estimator formal gated. That's what you saw. And as you move down further, then there is one more cost estimator informal gated. See that one? So this is a lighter version of the estimation. The formal gated project, because of the nature of the project, it is very detailed. It has weighted averages, risk averaged. It has a lot of components that are pre-built into it. It has the components from the standard rates that we have loaded in SAP. That sort of picture is there for the cost estimator formal gated. An informal gated project is at a little bit higher level, that you will be identifying, let's say, how many hours we need for a tester. Okay, how many hours I need for an architect. There is no detailed level of calculation and rolling it up to the level, the cost level. You simply start absorbing the cost and say, I need 100 hours, very rough estimate. Whereas to get to that 100 hours, in the detailed cost estimator, that is a formal gated cost estimator, you have to enter some data by phase or by stage, how many hours you need from that architect, so that that it totals up. It also asks you what is your confidence level. If you say 50% confidence level, then it calculates based on the confidence level the estimated effort. And also it accumulates the total effort and cost, right? In terms of by stage, by role, how many hours are required, and what are the deliverables by stage gate. And also it gives you by role, so that you can picturize the whole thing in a lot more detailed way compared to an informal gated cost estimate tool. Okay, so any help you need is definitely there for you. You can reach out to us. We will be able to work with you. The other thing that I wanted to bring out here is on the SGP's the deck or the slide that I was presenting. As you move from left to right through the stages, you are increasing your percentage of the estimation maturity, right? So you are starting with almost like plus minus 100%, but then you are slowly improving it as you come to the initial design stage, and then when you come to the level of design, direct and manage. So the idea is at every point of time, as project manager, keep a tab on your dates, on your schedule, on your costs. Okay, and the area that you should focus is basically the ServiceNow, which has got all these things. Okay, again, as good quality as you maintain in ServiceNow about your project, that well we can represent your project in the senior leadership team. Going forward, we are going to bring out some of the projects that are non-compliant to the senior leadership team for further course of action on that. Okay, so I'm also giving you the objective of us providing you all these help, all these knowledge is basically to keep good project data in ServiceNow and the compliance to the various procedures and the stage gate process. Okay, I think that's a good discussion that we had about the stage gate process and the other things. So let me shift. Maybe can you give me the control, Anthony? Okay, that's good. Okay, I want to shift to the special topics now and explain a couple of special topics for your benefit. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to navigate myself to the special topic screen that was put across. Okay, so here are the special topics for today. Hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so the special topics for today are, okay, sorry. Okay, the first one is the past committed delivery date report. One of the efforts from EPMO to our project teams is to proactively inform them about any compliance issues, right? So we are now preparing a couple of reports for your benefit. The first one is the past committed delivery date report. If your project has passed the committed delivery date that is mentioned in the project tab, we want to pick it out and showcase it to you. Okay. This will be based on the date that we run the report. Generally, this report is run on the first week of every month, and that report is stored on the EPMO SharePoint site. The link provided there brings you to that folder, and you can either look at it or download that report, check whether if your project is being mentioned over there, and then now take appropriate corrective action. I don't want your project to be on that report, to be frank with you. Now, if you have maintained your dates well, you will not be on that report. But if your project comes up on the report, that means this project is going to be reported as a non-compliant report to the senior leadership team. If I were you, what I would be paying attention is the date. When I'm committing my committed delivery date, at least a month before that, I will take the stock of my project, see if I am proceeding on time with all the tasks. If not, I would immediately start preparing justification document. Justification document is nothing but a project change request in PSCG terminology. Prepare that document is available again in the SharePoint site. Download it, prepare the data, go with the proper reasoning to your GPM and say, okay, it looks like the project is going to be delayed by at least a month or 2 months or whatever is that. And I need additional funds. This is the reason why I need additional funds. Prepare the cost estimates and take them and get the review and approval done. Okay. So the past committed delivery date report is more to bring the importance of your committed delivery date, which is in past. Okay. The next report, which is a proactive report, is the upcoming committed delivery date report. Again, I know as a project manager, you will be looking at your project multiple times a day. You know the date that is mentioned over there, but we want to bring this report as a consolidated report to the project management tower and also to your GPMs. Okay. So the project management tower manager may reach out to various GPMs and PMs. Hey guys, you are having a project coming up as a committed delivery date in 2 weeks. Are you there? If not, what is the action you are taking? Is the justification document already in progress? If not, then why not? And help you out on that. Okay. So the upcoming delivery date report is the one that is going to proactively show the coming committed delivery dates in the next 2 months. Again, this report is run on the first week of every month and is put up on the link on the SharePoint. Okay. The other report is the zero forecast report. So a lot of times I found that the project managers are losing sight of entering forecast in ServiceNow. It could be various reasons based that, oh, we were told forecast is not required and other things. No, we are bringing the forecast back into the importance. So the project managers and the controllers, whoever you are working over with, please go into your forecast, manage forecast tab on the project and enter the forecast for the rest of the year and rest of the project, especially the upcoming month. Okay. Because once the first few days are passed of the current month, like May, yesterday I saw the May is still open for entering your forecast. Today, I don't know, I have not checked it yet. So please go immediately into your project, check if you have entered your forecast properly. If not, now get it done quickly. If it is open, okay. If it is already became non-editable, then you can't help it. But this zero forecast report is again a consolidated report to help the project management tower and the GPMs to know at the end of the month. This is run at the last week of the month, not the first week of the month. This is proactive report again. Somewhere around 21st, 22nd of the month, we will run this report, put it up there, so your people can go and consolidate. And a GPM having 6-7 projects need not go to every project. Just look at this report and call the PM and say, hey, why I'm seeing your project on this report, why didn't you enter your forecast? The basic reason of these reports is to see that your quality in ServiceNow about your project is well maintained. Unfortunately, there were multiple times we reached out to you guys to maintain the data. Unfortunately, the quality is not improving. There could be various reasons. I'm not finding any fault or excuse here, but eventually it is our responsibility as project managers to go and put or maintain the data quality in ServiceNow. Okay. So these are the 3 reports that we are generating every month. Go forward. 2 reports on the first week of the month. The 3rd report is going to be on the last week of the month or last before the last week, so that you will have enough time to recover from the forecast. Along with that, you also need to forecast, be aware of accruals. Okay, it's very simple exercise that you, as long as you know them and to address them properly, you will be able to take care of them quickly. Okay, forecast, actual, the accruals, and then your committed delivery date. Your most 90% of your project based data is of good quality if you take care of these three. Then the next one that is coming out is called how-to documents. Okay, this is another effort from EPMO team to help all the project managers to understand, do things quickly. Like for example, some project manager calls me and says, how do I engage procurement? Maybe he did not attend the training session that procurement team conducted, but in order to understand later and go step by step how to engage procurement, we are coming out with documents like that. These are called how-to documents, how to create that particular step, and then how to get it done, completed. Okay, like there are multiple documents that will be stored on the SharePoint site, and also you can access them via Snow. But now they are being prepared, they are going to be reviewed and will be put up there. We'll send out a communication to you guys that these are available for your reference, and then you can start consuming them. These how-to documents cover almost every possible task of a project manager in the project lifecycle area. Okay, starting from how to create a demand, how to create a business case, how to get the project WBS to client account mapping, how to store a document on ServiceNow, start a workflow, how to create a status report, almost every possible activity. If you have some suggestions that you also want to have a how-to document for a particular activity, please share your thoughts. Okay, we would love to create and be of help to you. Then the next topic I wanted to talk is about the project creation, right? So most of you people are aware, as I was explaining in the first two stages, right? The create concept and the business case. I spoke in detail about the business case. It is a Word document. You can find it in the SharePoint site, download it, fill it up in full, and use it, right? There is a parallel activity that you also need to do as a project manager or a group product manager, is creating a demand. In ServiceNow, you go to ServiceNow tab and you create a demand. Maybe let me just show you, I can go to ServiceNow. Okay. So are you able to see my screen? Right, I'm showing the forecast tab. Okay, so I was looking at the project 13086 just to check if May is open. Let's look at it. Let me refresh and see if May is still open for you to enter the data. Okay. As you know, your forecasts need to be entered into the project using the Manage Forecast tab, right? So click that Manage Forecast. It opens up. As you can see right now on the screen, your May is still open. So grab the opportunity, go to your project, enter your forecast. As you can see, this project 13086, I'm just taking it an example. Don't make it anything serious about it. There is no forecast. Okay, it could be a valid reason that there is no forecast required for this project for May. That's valid. But the idea is basically to give you one more tinkle to go and check it out. If it is needed, we should have had the forecast over there. Okay. So this is how you check your forecast, and also fill in the rest of the year or rest of the duration of the project, how much dollars are required for every forecast by line item. You see, there is a capex, there is an opex, labor, material, outside services, etc. And once you create it, the other thing that I would also like you to see, whenever you have a data here, try to put 0 if you do not have a forecast. There is a reason behind my saying that is ServiceNow sometimes looks for that data 0. Okay, so even if you don't have any forecast, instead of leaving it blank, though the zeros are appearing, try to go and enter one more time. And the last thing that you have to do is basically save it. Okay, until and unless you say okay to this, you see this okay button. If you don't do this okay button, unfortunately, if you just simply use the button save or update and come out of this, most probably your forecast was not saved. Okay, because this save and update buttons are at the project level. The OK button is the button that saves the data that you have entered in the manage forecast. So I'm sharing some of my experiences, the tips that may help you. Okay, so enter the data, come down, OK it. That will move your the form back to your project. Then save the project so that you get the updates. Okay.
One question. So, I did see something negative over there. So, is something negative which is over there need to be forecasted as well?
No, negative is your accruals. Accruals reversed.
Okay.
Okay. So, as a concept of accruals is that every month you are going to enter the data. At the end of the month, that will be entered as plus, and then when you come back next month, that will be reversed out right away.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the reason why you will be seeing, or there is a journal entry that is causing that problem. So you have to be careful and understand what is this 29,908 as negative coming up. You have to analyze the data. That is why I keep saying, look at your financials at least once in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that will be like a regular thing. Make a reminder on your screen and say that, okay, I got a reminder today to check my forecast. Okay, go and check it out. So it is easy for you to maintain it that way. The other thing that I was telling you, that you need to create a demand to start the create concept and flowing into business case, right? So still we are calling it as press release, and we are going to change all these things. Okay, once upon a time we used to call it as demand, that is in 2014-15 timeframe. Then we moved to press release because of this standing, that approach that we took. But still we were calling it as, it was being created as demand, because the configuration wise, we didn't want to make too many changes to this service now. So what you do is basically create a new, okay? Whenever there is a concept that is given to you by business, the first thing is, when you are doing that analysis work and you feel that you need to capture the data regarding this, when the business case is approved, this is the one that is going to convert into a project. Your business case is still a Word document, right? It is maintained outside. A Word document is prepared, a Word document is reviewed, presented, and all that. But how do you make the system understand that your request is approved and you can turn it into a project? That mechanism is called demand, right? So go to demand and then create a new demand here, enter the data, right? If you are having any access issues, let us know. We will give you the access required. And I'm also creating a job aid for requesting an access. Okay, by the way, if you have a PM or a portfolio specialist role on your role, then you are getting it. You can automatically do this creation. Check it out. If you're not having it, let us know. We will provide you the details. Okay. The name, the collaborator, the business case, risk of performing it, risk of not performing it, the assumptions and all these things. Once you give that this data and submit, it goes to the next level. Okay, this is self-sufficient, self-flowing type of a creation, but we are also coming out with a job aid for this. Okay, every bit of the steps that will be explained clearly, so you will know at what stage what data to be entered, and it flows into the next stage. So just going back into the already having data, let us look at this. This way I can explain you a couple of more things. So there is a demand created, but there is no data. And so somebody is trying to be proactive, had a demand created, but there was no data entered. Okay, so we can pick up any demand from any project, then we can work through it. But there are 4 stages basically for a demand. Okay, when you create it, it's in the screening stage. Once you enter the ROM, the rough order magnitude estimate, for which you need the cost estimator. So prepare the cost estimator, come to the level of the cost estimates, enter the ROM, then it will be in a qualified mode. The third stage is once qualified mode is available, then you submit it for approval. Whomever is the sponsor that is being put into these screens, that sponsor will be getting a notification from ServiceNow that a request is in your queue for approving the dollars. Okay, so then that particular sponsor can approve the demand. It turns into approve, right? So once it is approved, then we will also be looking at the business case approval from the BCCT team. They both should coincide with each other. Demand approved by the client, if it is a client-driven project, or demand in the qualified stage, if it is an IT-funded project. The BC that is coming in parallel, it is a train that is coming in parallel, gets reviewed, gets approved by the service and the SLT team. Then both of these things will be looked at by the EPMO team, and a project is created. Okay, every project has got a PRJ number as the first 3 letters and a number specific to your project. Once this PRJ number is created, the EPMO team will work internally with our controlling team to create WBSS for you. Okay, the WBSS are created, but they needed to be mapped to a client accounting. Who will provide the client accounting is your sponsor. Okay, sponsor or the product owner. So talk to them, get the client accounting, give the information to the controller team, and the controller team will be able to match them together. They map them together. That's the last point when the project from a pending status will become active. Okay, so the steps are very simple. Demand is a screening, qualify, approved, business case approved. Then a PRJ is created in a pending status. Then client account and WBSS are mapped together. Then the controller will convert that pending status to active status. That's where you have the project available to you to start off. You may not see directly right away in your bucket because you have to be assigned to the project by your group product manager. Okay, so the group product manager, once the PRJ number is in active mode, he will be assigning to a product consultant. Thereby, that will start showing up in the bucket of the project manager to start working on the project. Okay, so that is the topic that I wanted to cover under project creation. Any questions on that? And then the last one I already covered, WBS client creation. Get your client accounting from your sponsor, provide it to the controller team. They will be able to map the WBS and client accounting. So one of the important steps that I want to cover in 2 minutes is your capital determination. Okay, every project is not O&M, every project is not capital. Okay, there could be combination of capital and O&M together. So, but you should understand what cost line items become capital and what are O&M. So in order to get that sort of a picture, prepare your cost estimate line items, have all the details ready, interact with the EPMO team to consolidate the data and present it to the property accounting team. Okay, this is all mentioned in one of the job aids. So don't worry, that it sounds ominous when I'm talking, but they're all available for your reference, okay? So if you are at a level where your cost estimation and you don't know whether it is going to be a capital or an O&M line item, that's where you will go to the property accounting team. They will help you to understand and divide them into these two groups. Based off of that finally approved capital and O&M combination, your WBSS will be created. There will be one set for capital and one set for O&M, and then the same will be mapped to the client accounting too. Okay. So that's the last topic for today. I just wanted to share with you. Any specific questions we have on this? Okay, so I think this is the end of training session today. And I like the way we have a couple of questions. People must have understood some of these important topics that a project manager need to look at. Yep, somebody has a question? Okay, so like I say, all the project managers focus on your data and try to represent the data as truthfully, as transparently as possible for us to present it to the senior leadership team. And also, that will help in order to manage your own project in a better way, right? Okay, so we will be covering more special topics in our upcoming forums. You will get the communications when those forums and what special topics we are covering. Join us and try to get as much knowledge as possible, okay? So thank you so much for joining us, and we're always there if you need any help on the processes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care then, bye-bye.